Hi friends, Astrologer Joe here, and welcome to this month's New Moon Outlook. This one for July the 24th, 2025, and this one I have titled The New Moon of Creative Innovation, and I'll explain that in a minute. So every new moon gives us an opportunity to reinvent ourselves. It's a new cycle, a new trend that is in the mix, and it affects us, subconsciously and even physically. So this month's new moon is going to be in the sign of Leo. Now, where the sun has gone into Leo, so now we're going through the sign of Leo in the Western astrology. And Leo is all about creativity. Leo represents, the force of the sun. This is why I picked this picture here. You have the sun in the background, and you can see the mane on the lion here, the male lion. It represents the sun. So this is symbolic of the energy of the sun, the creative force of the sun. And so with that creative force comes things like fertility and comes creativity, and innovation. So that's part of it. But the alignments this month are really interesting because they're going to be affecting quite a few planets. This new moon cycle is going to be engaged with quite a few planets. So we're going to see some substantial changes in the next couple of weeks, which has already started really. But now it begins to manifest itself even more. Now, since we're going through Leo season, I will be focusing on some people that are in the news because they happen to be Leo or Leo rising, like Donald Trump has a Leo rising. So I will be covering some of that. And we'll get into some other stuff. So Leo is all about new things, creativity. It's the sign that represents having fun and being loving. And this is the symbol of Leo. As a matter of fact, here are some of the traits, and these are very basic traits of the sign, the positive and the negative. Prevailing, positive, bright, high-minded, determined, imposing, romantic, leader, generous, noble, cheery. Some of the negative traits, oppressive, overdramatic, prying, showy, obstinate, opinionated, proud, narrow-minded, big-headed, snobbish. Okay, every sign has positive and negative traits. So basically, what we're looking at here is the energy that is completely shifted since the sun has now gone into Leo, and we have this new moon, as the sun just entered Leo. So it's a new way of looking at things. It's a new revised energy, as opposed to the Cancer energy, which is more reserved, and self-protective. The energy is much more outgoing, and it wants to be seen and wants to be heard. And that's the kind of energy we're going to have during this new moon. As a matter of fact, it'll be the whole 30 days of the cycle. And so we'll find ourselves just being either more motivated, more aggressive, and maybe talking louder and wanting more attention in some way within our friends and family or even online. So all of that is going to be part of the equation as this new moon cycle begins. So let me get into the chart here. So here we have the new moon in Leo. All right, so let's look at it. It's going to be at 2 degrees of Leo. So wherever this is in your actual birth chart, you want to look at that house that it's in because that's the area that gets lit up. And so as we see this new moon in Leo at 2 degrees, it's going to be exactly opposing Pluto in Aquarius at 2 degrees. So this is an exact opposition. In astrologies reflect tension. They reflect push and pull energy, especially when we're dealing with powerful Pluto, because powerful Pluto is the destroyer, the rebuilder, the transformer of the zodiac. And so when we have this opposition force here between the creativity of Leo and the rebelliousness of Aquarius and Pluto, we have this tension in the air that's like, I need to change. I'm not doing the same thing over and over again. We need to look at the world in a different way. That kind of mindset, which we're going through right now, but now it's, exacerbated even more with this alignment. So over the next couple of weeks, this trend will be very prominent and you will see it. Now, the thing about Pluto is Pluto will dig up the deep, dark mysteries and stuff that's buried, because that's what it does. And so because we have this alignment here, expect more stuff in the news, to be revealed or coming forward. And if in your personal life, it's just coming to some sort of realization that, I have to change. I have to do something different. I can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the same results. So this is the kind of creative energy that this new moon brings to it just from this one alignment right here. But there's a lot more. If we notice some of the other aspects that are going on, we see Uranus. Now, Uranus is just like Aquarius because they're one and the same. It's in Gemini, and it's also making an alignment. Okay, it's not exact like the Pluto, but it's 2 degrees off. But this is also very powerful. This is the innovation part of the new moon because Uranus is all about innovation. Uranus does not like doing things in the old ways. And so what are we seeing here? We're seeing something new trying to be birthed into creation. And so with the sextile, which is 60 degrees away, this is very favorable. And so we see the opportunity here to change in some way, to create something new. So in our personal lives, if there's something that you've wanted to try, something you've wanted to say, something you've wanted to create, this is a perfect new moon to do it because the energy is that strong. It is that profound to get things accomplished. Okay, so we have those alignments. Now we have more. We have the new moon also making favorable alignments to Saturn and Neptune. Especially Neptune, it's actually an exact trine. So a trine is easygoing, flow. It's natural. And so we have this alignment between Saturn, which is discipline and effort, and Neptune, which is imagination. So this lends a lot more sort of psychic imagination to your projects, to your endeavors, to your creativity and whatever you're doing. So I would suggest, put the wheels in motion for something new that you want to create, something new that you want to develop, because this could be a great time for it. All right. Now, yes, Mercury is in retrograde, which is our thinking, but it doesn't mean you slow down and do nothing. Mercury is in retrograde, giving us an opportunity to look at the past or review the past or to deal with the past in some way. Maybe there's something that you've always wanted to do, and now's the opportunity. You feel the opportunity to put the wheels in motion. That's what this new moon is bringing forth. Okay, so keep that in mind as we go forward with this new moon. But there's one other aspect here that's a little challenging, and that would be Mars in Virgo squaring Venus in Gemini. That's an exact square. So what does that mean? Mars is our aggression. Mars is our motivation. Venus is our partnerships, our values, and our money. So what I'm seeing here is there's a lot of adjustments that need to be made at this time, especially in the financial realm. As you know, the world is changing economically with new financial systems that are being developed, either through cryptocurrencies or gold-backed currencies like the BRICS nations. And so we're going through this transition right now. And there's been a lot of news, and I did post quite a few posts on YouTube, just the posts themselves, and on my Facebook and Instagram pages about this, stable coin and the CBDC, which is central bank digital currencies. And so there's some great interviews, some really knowledgeable people talking about the development of these systems and what it means to you. So you want to check those out. James Corbett is someone that did some of those interviews. Whitney Webb is another one. There are many good people out there that know what's going on. So get informed now, because part of these changes that are coming or continue to come are in the financial sector, because, they're trying to birth a new financial system, and we just don't know how it's going to completely work out. And so we have to really pay attention without the fear, without the doubt, and go in that direction. Or, don't feed into it and just continue using cash, gold coins, silver coins, whatever you use, and deal amongst yourselves, because that's what I see happening. As a new system develops, there are going to be a lot of people that don't want to be a part of it. Anyway, but that's part of what I'm seeing, the Mars squaring Venus. Now, the other thing about Mars squaring Venus is you need to pay attention to is people around you or relationship issues, because this could bring in some tension. Like, you're starting something new and your partner's like, no, I don't want to do that. No, that sounds crazy, and then you have this friction that develops. So be careful of other people and their opinions and what, them basically not wanting you to do what you want to do. Anyway, but this is a very creative new moon. And so depending on where it is in your chart, this is a golden opportunity to take advantage. And I'm not saying you have to change your life completely. I'm saying try something new, go someplace new, see something new. This is the kind of energy, because you never know what's going to happen. When you try something new, you're changing the dynamics of your energy. So keep that in mind. Okay. So anyway, let's go into the United States' chart. I'm focusing on the United States because that's where all the action is right now. So if you live in another country, and the country's birth chart, you could still use the new moon outlook and see how it's affecting your country. Anyway, as you can see here, the new moon is very close to the north node of the United States. Now, since we're talking about Leo energy, Leo represents royalty. It represents people in power. And here in the United States, of course, we have Donald Trump, who has a Leo rising, Mars in Leo, and I believe Pluto in Leo. I think we have his chart here. I'm going to go over his chart as well. But here we see the dynamics of the North Node. So what is he trying to do right now? So if you've been following the real news, which is very hard to find these days, he and his team are developing a new currency. And, they're calling it stable coin. They're calling it some other stuff, and that is the big news right now. And why do I say that? The 8th house in astrology and the 2nd house in astrology both represent money and power, both of them. This is the values. This is the physical side, the actual paper, the coin, the physical side of it. The 8th house is the people involved. The people involved and how they're going to structure it and, develop it. So when we see a new moon this close to the North Node, which is where we're striving for, what we're striving for, the future, and we see it closely aligned, even though it's not exact, it's 5 degrees off, it's still effective here. So we see something new being developed. So over the course of the next 2 weeks, there will be more talk about digital currency, new currency, stable coins, all kinds of talk about this. We're already seeing the beginning stages of it. So get to understand some of this stuff, because somehow they're going to try and implement it worldwide. First, it'll start in the United States, and then, of course, it'll go around the world. So we see this alignment taking place right there. We see the technology sector activated as well, with Uranus making an alignment to the new moon. We see, both Saturn and Neptune being affected here as well. Of course, all of the stuff with the immigration is still going on in the country. As a matter of fact, Tom Homan has basically stepped it up now. He's been saying that we're going to go to the sanctuary cities and we're going to become more aggressive. So we're seeing some of that developing as well. This is about power. The 8th house is about power. And so we're going to see more of that, or more aggression in the government in what it wants to implement or do. So pay attention. Now here is an interesting one. Mars is going to be conjunct Neptune, which also squares Venus. Now here is the 9th house, which has to do with politics. It has to do with the legal system. It has to do with the future. And Mars is right on Neptune. So something is dissolving. Something is changing. Something is being brought forth. Again, could be more rulings from the United States Supreme Court. Since it's a square to both Mars and Venus in the United States' chart. There's the Mars, there's the transiting Venus. We see some really strong alignments here. So whatever is being implemented, we might see some friction, some people rebelling against it. We may see some, friends in the political realm, in terms of other countries not wanting to be a part of the new structure, the new system. And there's been a lot of talk with the country Israel. And so one of the things that I've talked about in my private community was, how this country was going to continue to undergo massive changes in the coming years, and it's already started. I'm noticing a really strong trend now that where the United States is either pushing away from Israel or it's trying to expose Israel and what it's doing. So this is not me saying this. These are the commentators. These are all the people that I'm following online. There absolutely seems to be this, this trend that's going on here with Israel. Mike Huckabee went over to Israel, and of course there was some sort of church bombing, and they did not like that, or people got hurt. Whatever it is, I'm seeing a severe trend, and this is the kind of alignments that I'm seeing here that are being affected in the United States. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, now it could be other nations as well, but this seems to be the trend. Anyway, there's going to be some significant changes that will continue to develop. But this time, since it's in Leo, we'll see egos, we'll see things, with people in power coming forth. Now, in Donald Trump's chart here, we see, yes, he does have Pluto in Leo, Mars in Leo, and the rising sign in Leo. But this is happening in his 12th house. This is the house that is basically about limitations. This is a spiritual house. This is about working from behind the scenes, not necessarily being seen, and that's what he's been doing. He's been working from behind the scenes on this financial system. And now we're getting glimpses of the information. The other thing that this house represents is the mental, psychic side, of reality. Now, I did say a while back that Mr. Trump needed to watch his health. And of course, there have been pictures that have been circulating about him with swollen legs and having some issues with blood circulation. And that absolutely is in line with this Pluto going through the 6th house of health. But now we have this energy of the 12th house being lit up. So what that means again, this is about mental health, mental well-being. I'm not saying he's losing his mind or anything, but he's probably overwhelmed with everything he's got on his plate, And so when the body starts to break down, that's an indication or a warning sign. Hey, pay attention to what you're doing and what you're putting into your body. And so he needs to really sort of regroup and become more aware of what he's doing, maybe more adapting more spiritual practices, or, something that gets him motivated or gets his blood flowing in his body. So this is going to be very important. But there's also this going on. This Mars in his 1st house, it's in Virgo, the sign of health. It's also squaring the transiting Venus, but it's also squaring his Sun and North Node, loosely, but especially as his Sun. So in the coming weeks, he is going to have some issues, as I've predicted. And I've said this before in my inner circle community, because I usually, they get first-hand crack at all this information. So anyway, here we see the square that's coming in. So he's going to be up against some friction these next couple of weeks about his plans, about his ideas. But that's really nothing new to Donald Trump, But because of the alignments, from the new moon right there, sextiling, he's going to be in the public a lot more. We're seeing trines to Saturn and Neptune. Again, financial matters. He's developing things behind the scenes. And of course, Jupiter's going through his 11th house of community and the future. So he's absolutely in planning mode. He's absolutely, wanting to bring forth something very important. But we also see Mars is also squaring his moon because he was born under a full moon. The moon is at 21. So again, things having to do with the home life, things having to do with Washington politics, such as the House and Senate. There's some heavy negotiations coming in for him in the next 2 weeks during this new moon cycle. So we'll see how it plays itself out. But it looks like a little bit of a rough road for him for some reason. And so we'll have to see how it develops. It could be something to do with his health. Could be something to do with what he wants that he's not happy about, especially with the financial side of things. And so we're going to see some changes that develop in the next couple of weeks. So we'll have to stay tuned and see, how it plays itself out. Now, the other thing that's going on here, and this is huge, and of course this could be part of it that I just said. Donald Trump put out this video, and it's an AI-generated video showing Barack Obama being arrested. Okay, it's completely AI, and this was Donald Trump who posted this on his Truth Social platform. He was the one that posted this, as if to say, Be careful because we're coming for you. So this is big. I mean, this is where I found it, but you could easily find it anywhere right now. You just put in Obama arrest video by Trump or something like that, and you could easily view it if you haven't seen it already. So this is going to be very important because they're basically suggesting, we already know Brennan and Comey are under investigation, and now they're all pointing to Barack Obama being the source of all of those Russiagate, problems. Okay, but in my research, it's much deeper than that. These people are just playing their part. There's people above them that are pulling the strings, including beyond Obama. So anyway, the reason I brought this up is because Barack Obama is a Leo. And so we're going to see how the new moon affects him in the coming couple of weeks. Okay, so that's why I brought this story up. But also, this is all developing now because Tulsi Gabbard, the national security intelligence person there, the director of the national intelligence, she's basically come out with a report saying, hey, it was Obama, it was this guy, it was that guy. Matter of fact, here's the report, and you could take a screenshot of this or just go online and search for it. And it just outlines basically the corruption that took place against President Trump and, how they were basically doing all this. Now, again, this is nothing new to those of us that have been paying attention to this stuff, but I'm showing it to you because this is going to be part of the, the conversation the next couple of weeks with this new moon in Leo, because Leo represents leaderships, especially Obama because he's a Leo. And so I have a question for you folks, okay? And just think about this clearly. And I know many of you already know this, but how does a senator with no experience that comes out of nowhere, becomes a senator in the state of Illinois, and then goes to Washington, becomes a senator for a short time, does not really have any voting record of any kind, and gets propelled to the forefront and becomes president of the United States? Now, I've researched this guy, for a long time. And, I don't just look at the people. I look at who's behind them, who's been funding them, what's really going on here. And so when I look at, Barack Obama, I mean, this guy, in my opinion, in my research, he is an actor. He is someone playing a role, and he was put there, okay? And this is not me saying this. This is the research that I've seen and developed. And it's by this agency here. This agency is one of the darkest ones we have out there. And they've had their hands in all kinds of stuff worldwide and in the politics of the United States, even though it's illegal. But who's going to stop them? So Obama, to me, appears to be, something that was created by this agency. And that's not me saying this, okay? But let's go down the rabbit hole for a second here, all right? Because I know a lot of you guys like this. A lot of you newbies, I want you to understand something about me. Yes, I call myself Astrologer Joe. Yes, I'm a professional astrologer. But more importantly, I'm a truth seeker. I've been like that my whole life. I've always wanted to know the truth. Why are we here? What is this world made of? Who's in power? Who's running the show? And I think I've done a pretty good job of going down that rabbit hole. The reason I bring this stuff up is to show you that we are believing in things that are being made up, that are being controlled by people in the dark. What I mean by that is when you follow politics, you're just watching the showmen and the showwomen doing their best to convince you of what's going on. But that's not really what's going on. You always have to look behind the scenes of who's pulling the string, what company, what corporation, where's the money coming from? And that's what I'm curious about. So when I go down this rabbit hole of conspiracy, you have to understand, I'm trying to get you to see the bigger picture. And hopefully give you a few breadcrumbs so it takes you into the realm of research. Now, the problem we're running into, friends, and I've said this many times before, the AI algorithm is scrubbing the internet of real information. If you put in anything about, let's say, Obama's past, all you will see is all kinds of garbage that the algorithm will put up from mainstream media. saying, oh, what a great man he is, what he did here, what he did there. So it's getting harder and harder to find stories from people on the inside that have been screaming at the top of their lungs saying, hey, something's wrong. No, something's not right. So this is why I put this stuff out. Okay, so I give you the astrology to show you the trends and the areas to focus on, what are the themes that are going to emerge. And, it's some of it's been very accurate, some of it not. It's just how it works. Nobody is 100%. The best you could do is 75, 80% accuracy. But I'm more interested in waking people up to show you how this system works. And I've talked about this in length in my private community. And, there I just talk unfiltered. I give you the names, I give you the organizations, which is something I really can't do here because the algorithm is listening and you get deplatformed or demonetized or whatever the hell they do to you. Okay, so this is why I try and give you the breadcrumbs. All right, so for those you don't understand that, I had to explain that for you. But anyway, let's go down this little bit of a rabbit hole and show you why this is important. Okay, remember, I said I'm a truth seeker. And no, the I does not have anything to do with any organization that I'm affiliated with. I'm not affiliated with any organization. Nobody's funding me. I am just one individual that is doing my best to share as much truth as possible. Okay? Anyway, but this is really how I see myself and many others in this movement around the world that are truth seekers. We want to know what the hell is going on. Anyway, let's go down this rabbit hole real quick. So for those of you who don't know, this is the mother of Obama. And what's so interesting is that I want to show you something. She attended the University of Washington in Seattle from 1961 to 1962. Now remember this, okay? This is on Wikipedia, which obviously you really can't trust either. They're bought and paid for. But let's go to this here. Now, this is a video that I watched years ago. Okay, I'm not going to read the title out, but it's a DVD. It's on Amazon, but I'm sure you could find it online. You could watch it for free. This is by Joel Gilbert. And so this was very, very eye-opening when I watched it years ago. When Obama became president, this came out. I believe this was like 2010 or something like that. Yeah, 2012. Anyway, this is absolutely worth watching, okay? Because a lot of the information that I'm about to share with you came from this video, but I've had other sources as well. But it basically claims that this is not his father. This was his father. Now, who is this? I'll just give you an example. Frank Marshall Davis. Now, he makes a compelling case in the documentary that this was all made up by this African student that was there, in Seattle, Washington, going to school with his mother. But this is his real father. And when you look at the similarities here, okay, it's amazing. And we're going to focus on Obama because he's a Leo, and I will get to his chart as well, too, just to show you, what's going on. You could see the similarities in the nose. You could see the lips, the cheekbones, the way they sit. Have nothing to do with this guy. Look how high the cheekbones are, the lips, the nose. There's no similarity here. There's nothing here that indicates a connection. And he makes this point in the video. Okay, so let's continue. Here is Frank Marshall Davis. He's a Capricorn, and he died in Hawaii, moved to Hawaii in the 1940s. Okay, so this is very interesting. I'm just connecting the dots for you guys, just giving you some breadcrumbs, so hopefully you'll watch the video and judge for yourself. Okay, so this guy supposedly in the video, and I can't prove it. I don't have any DNA, or I don't have any. Again, we're just putting this out here so you understand the bigger picture. We see in Barack Obama's chart here, August 4th, 1961 at 7:24 p.m. Honolulu, Hawaii. I do not believe that this is his accurate chart. Remember that whole birth certificate scandal? All of a sudden the birth certificate shows up out of nowhere. So in my opinion, being a professional astrologer, I do not see this as accurate. This is not an accurate chart for him. And one of the reasons I say that is because of this. Chiron in the first house. Chiron is the wounded healer, symbolic of the wounded healer. I found over the years when someone has a Chiron like this by itself in the first house, there's usually some sort of physical problem that they have that's noticeable. Because the first house represents the persona, your presence. It represents the head. It's in Pisces, which could be anything to do with the feet. I don't know if Mr. Obama has any issues with his feet. But there's something that comes through with a Chiron in the first house by itself like this. Like there's something wrong, like the person has a limp or has a bad arm or, something's wrong with them. You don't see that in Obama. Obama seems to have a cool, calm demeanor. And so I don't think this is a very accurate chart of Mr. Obama. Okay? But let's continue here. Here in the documentary, it suggests that he was born in Seattle. Now, if the time is right, again, we're speculating here. We can't prove any of this. But here we see a Seattle birth. Now, this changes the whole dynamic of his chart. Now, this, to me, and, this is just my opinion, is much more in line with who Obama is if he was born in Seattle. Now, why is this important? The reason that they chose, according to the video, they chose him to be born in Hawaii was because if they showed he was born in Seattle, then they would see the connection that his mother had to Frank Marshall Davis. Now, Frank Marshall Davis was an avid communist. If you understand his background, if you do watch the documentary, he goes into length about his background, how this man was a bisexual, was having sex with men and women all over the place. He was fathering kids everywhere. And so whoever put this together, that Alphabet agency, didn't want this to be associated with Obama. So they decided to create the Hawaii birth. And so here, when I look at this from an astrological standpoint, this makes more sense to me. Given a Capricorn rising, his father was a Capricorn. And when I look at charts of parents and children, usually they have strong energy from one of the parent signs, or it's a mixture of both. And here we see a Capricorn rising, we see a Saturn in Capricorn, Jupiter in Aquarius. This is more the demeanor that I see with Barack Obama. He's very controlled, Capricorn, all the Capricorn energy, very prominent, likes a lot of attention, even though he's a Leo, and I get that. But Jupiter also is protecting him. Like I get attention naturally. I love the attention. I want to show the people I care about them. All of that stuff falls under this umbrella here. Now, yes, Chiron is still in the first house, but now we have all this energy that's overriding Chiron here. And then we see here all this energy in the seventh house of relationships. Him and his Michelle Obama have been involved for a very long time. And he seems to have a lot of connections or people. His moon was in Gemini, so he's kind of like a chameleon, and a good orator. Moon in Gemini, people can be good speakers, come across in a certain way. But everything about him is like controlled, controlled speech, controlled movements, control, this and that. So this one seems to be more accurate with me. Anyway, I'm just pointing that out as an astrologer to show you this. But we're going to use the sun chart, okay? And because that is still going to have accuracy, because I can't prove the Seattle one. And I don't like the Hawaii chart. I'm just going to use this one, okay? So here we see the sun on the first house and everything else in place. And so let's go to the new moon here. So the new moon, look at this new moon with Barack Obama. This is why he is basically in the crosshairs right now in the mainstream news and all of that. We see the new moon that's activated right on his Mercury, which is about communication. All right. This is about stuff that's coming forth, that's hidden, that's in the hidden realm. And this is very important. It's opposing Pluto right there. Okay. Once again, Pluto digs up dirt, and it's been right on his Jupiter. So things in the community, things about, what he's done or been around, the people that he's been around, is coming forth. And see, the new moon is bringing this to light. And then we have also the sextile to Uranus, very close to his moon. The moon is the subconscious. The moon is the past. And again, Uranus is either shedding light or bringing to light things that have been buried, or changes in his life, like moving, or there was heavy talk about him getting divorced. All of this stuff fits the umbrella here of the astrology. The new moon is also making a sextile to his natal moon. So we're seeing things emotionally either being very difficult for him, lots of changes, family dynamics, whatever's going on, there is definitely all of that. We also see the alignments between Neptune and Saturn. Saturn is government and structures and power, and Neptune is dissolving. So we're seeing something about his credibility, something about his persona, something about his legacy that's being literally changed right before our eyes, And so we also see Mercury retrograde, bringing the past up on his sun. See that? Very important. And of course, the Mars conjuncting his natal Mars in Virgo, squaring Venus right there. So we're seeing some very uncomfortable situations involving his motivation, his mental health, things, the people he's been connected to. So we're seeing, from my perspective here and how I do astrology, I'm seeing all of these developments coming forth. And so these next 2 weeks, he is going to be in the spotlight or continue to be in the spotlight. Not just that video about being arrested that Trump put out, but there's going to be a lot more that keeps coming out. And wouldn't surprise me if he gets arrested, And so this is why way back when I said, when Trump got arrested, indicted and all that stuff, I said, this is all white hat operation. And when I mean white hat, they were doing it to themselves in order to set up this moment in time, friends. See how it works? And so we are seeing, actors playing out roles here. And we'll see how it develops. But the next 2 weeks, keep an eye on definitely Barack Obama and what comes of all of this information that's being poured out. All right, let's move forward, go into the 30th, where Venus enters Cancer. Now, Venus is about relationships and money matters and values. But Cancer is the United States. We're a Cancer nation, And so from July 30th through August the 25th, Venus will be transiting Cancer. And I'll talk about that, what it means. So Venus in Cancer is very much, again, self-protective. It values family. It values people that they care about the most. So wherever this Venus is going to be transiting in your chart in Cancer, wherever that Cancer sign is, you want to focus on your family. You feel more caring, you're more self-protective, maybe things pertaining to land and real estate or the home, because Cancer represents all of that. So depending on where this is in your birth chart, you'll be focusing your attention on more of that. Now, Venus in Cancer could also be very sentimental. So, things about the past, being more emotional, more sensitive. This is all stuff that, generally speaking, will affect all of us. Okay, depending on what sign and, what your chart looks like. So this is the kind of theme that we have now as we go through Venus in Cancer. It'll absolutely make people more passionate too. So we'll see more of that, in our personal lives and in the news. So here is the Venus, where is she? Venus right there entering Cancer. And as soon as she enters Cancer, she begins to make an inconjunct to powerful Pluto, but she also begins to square Neptune and Saturn. Squares are difficult. They're challenges, okay? We need to overcome. So we have this Venus, as soon as she enters at the beginning of August, we have some challenges coming in on a personal level. In other words, this could have to do with our job, could have to do with our relationships, could have to do with the government, anything that you're focusing your attention on, especially pertaining to family or friends or people close to you. Okay? That's how it works. So there's a transformation here taking place on a personal level within us as Venus enters the sign of Cancer. That's at the end of the month into the beginning of August. So there is, some very interesting energy we need to deal with. Now, when we go back to the United States, of course, we see that the United States has the Sun, Jupiter, and Venus all in Cancer. Now, this makes the second planet to be in Cancer. So do you think the United States will be, front and center once again with news and information? Absolutely. But now that we have Cancer being activated again, this is about the homeland. This is about, the House and Senate, which represents the home, so to speak. But this is about land in the United States. So again, Cancer is a water sign. What have I been saying the past year about watch the water? And so we may see more developments with weather and water being developed as Venus makes its way through Cancer. And then, of course, it'll conjunct Jupiter. So things pertaining to water could continue to be an issue in the United States. We saw the Texas floods. We saw the New Mexico floods. We saw other floods around the east, the southeast. So my point being is again, this is symbolic of the trends. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying that this is a possibility. That's how it works. But as Venus begins to square Saturn, begins to square Neptune, again, we're seeing some sort of development here with the United States, and I would say the House and Senate, because that represents the fourth house here. And so there could be more developments there. But the land is absolutely affected. Emotions are absolutely affected. Maybe the ice raids get intensified. It could be stuff like that. So we could see things that are so-called natural or things that are passionate during this cycle. And so we're going to continue to see that develop as Venus makes its way through Cancer. Okay? So let's see how it plays itself out, friends. I'm just giving you some of the trends here. Now, here's what I was talking about earlier. Border czar Tom Homan basically saying, we're going to go after the sanctuary cities. It could be stuff related to that too, where people get heated up and there's more conflict and, more arrests and all this nonsense going on. But it's unfortunate. It's a necessity at this time. But, everyone's doing what they have to do. Let's go to the 6th when Mars enters Libra. Now, Libra is all about fairness. It represents the legal system. It's about balance. It's about partnerships, And Mars is about aggression. Now, Mars in Libra does not do well at all because Mars, the energy of Mars is feisty and fiery and likes conflict and battle. And Libra is the opposite of all of that. So Mars gets confused on what to do. So Mars is our motivation. So we find ourselves now with Mars going through Libra for the next 5.5 weeks or so, 6 weeks. I'm not sure where I'm going. I'm not sure what I'm doing, and we have this feeling of aggression and being passive. It's passive aggressive energy when you have Mars in Libra. So here we have another dynamic at play here. Okay. The positive side of this is we're more focused on relationships. We're more focused on beauty. We're more focused on justice. The downside is indecisiveness, uncertainty, and the passive aggressive behavior. And this is what we're going to continue to see in our personal lives and in the news. So here's Mars entering Libra. Here's what makes it so tricky. Mars, again, as soon as it enters Libra, it will be opposing Saturn and Neptune right away. So here we see this push and pull once again. I feel stuck. I don't know what I'm doing. I need to change. I don't know which direction to go because of Neptune. Saturn is restriction. And so Mars feels trapped. Mars feels like it can't move forward for some reason. But it does make some positive alignments to Uranus and Pluto. So as I said at the beginning, the title of this presentation is Creative Innovation. So this is how, with all these alignments that I'm seeing during this new moon cycle, I'm seeing a lot of creativity coming out of this on a personal level and even on a societal level in the country of the United States and even worldwide. But I'm also seeing, the innovation. Anything to do with Uranus is innovation. It's technology. And I've been talking about this for a while now, how AI is going to basically take over everything, and the powers that shouldn't be are all pushing us towards AI and AI control, which I'm not a fan of. Okay, technology should not be controlling us, even though on some level it already is. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. Now Mars is again the motivation. But making the trine to Pluto and Uranus is basically saying, all right, I know I need to change. I know I need to make things happen. I know I need to change things up a bit. And so we're going to find ourselves here questioning everything, relationships, our jobs, financial matters, the politics, where we want to be. This is all going to be on the table under this Mars transit. And of course, Venus is also in Cancer, which is doubt and self-protective and, insecurity. This is, again, what I'm seeing for this next 2-week cycle is definitely a little, I don't want to say wishy-washy, but it's a little doubtful is what I'm saying. Even though we have this powerful sun motivating us, we have these other alignments that are saying, I'm not sure, maybe. So what I suggest is take the small steps. Take the small steps. Do something once in a while to break out of the patterns that you find yourself in. That's what I'm suggesting here, okay? Now, in the United States' chart, we see Mars right at the high point of the chart, the MC, and Mars will be there as it makes this opposition. So again, we're seeing Mars. Mars could represent military. Mars could represent a charismatic leader with a big ego. This is definitely being brought forth here. When we see an opposition like this, we could see a battle between wills, between people. I mean, we're already seeing that with Donald Trump, but maybe somebody else comes forward, and becomes very prominent, and he or she is getting a lot of attention. So we're going to see that coming forth. Now, the other thing about this Mars, as it's transiting the United States' chart, look at what it does. It begins to square Venus, it'll eventually square Jupiter and square the Sun. So we're seeing some friction here, development, astrologically, between people in the country or partnerships around the world, as I was saying earlier, Israel, but there could be other countries as well, in the mix here. Because it creates this tension, Mars and tension here. This could be more military intervention around the world. Many of us were surprised when Donald Trump sent weapons to the Ukraine. So again, we're seeing a lot of these developments taking place here. So we'll see how they play themselves out. So this is what I'm suggesting here with this Mars. It's a very volatile, sort of unpredictable energy that's coming in. But I'm just giving you the heads up on where it's developing. So partnerships, relationships, the earth, the ground, water issues, or could be conflicts with partners. There's the theme, okay? Anyway, let's get to the full moon. We're almost done. August 9th, we have a full moon in Aquarius. Now, a full moon in Aquarius brings to light things about the future and the past simultaneously. Aquarius is the sign that's associated with Uranus. Uranus and Aquarius are one and the same. Uranus rules Aquarius. So this is about breaking patterns. This is about freedom. This is about looking at things in a completely different way. And the full moon is about emotions. It's about looking at the past and saying, what the hell am I doing? That's the mindset here. And so this one could be rebellious. Aquarius energy is very rebellious. So for some, it will be rebellious. For others, it would say, I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm not doing this anymore. Whatever that is for you, your job, your relationship, your life, whatever, this will give you an opportunity to change things up. So again, we add another element of disruption in the mix with this energy that's coming in. So here's the full moon. It's going to be, I believe, 16 degrees, if I'm correct here, 16 or 17 degrees, but the chart shows 16. So here we see the opposition between the sun, the creative force, and the subconscious force and the past. Push and pull, push and pull. Now, fortunately, this alignment is not making this full moon is not making any major alignments to anything. So it means it's kind of like a standalone. And so what that means is the energy is just either within us, it feels intense, it feels uncomfortable, but at the same time, it brings to light something that needs to change. Aquarius energy is very innovative as well. So again, we're continuing the theme here of creative innovation. So this is a very strong, powerful time for creative innovation, which will continue, as I said. So these next couple of weeks, we really are on the precipice of something major that's changing, whether it's the financial system, or whether it's leadership, whether it's in our personal lives, just going in a new direction or changing our habits. The energy is absolutely conducive to that change. So this is going to be very interesting to watch. Okay. Now in the United States' chart, unfortunately, with this full moon, it's in the second house of income and values, up against the sun in the 8th house of the shadows and shared resources. We see Mercury close or just past the North Node. We're seeing also the Mars opposition and squaring Venus. There's just so much like tension here. There's so much building up in the United States. We see powerful Pluto, which is the powers that shouldn't be, also making an alignment to Venus, making an alignment to Uranus loosely, and of course to Saturn and Neptune. So we're seeing a lot of major moves being made behind the scenes. Now, I've done videos about this in the past, but the powers that shouldn't be are definitely want to create this new financial system, 8th house, 2nd house financial systems, that basically benefits them. And that's the concern that many of us have, that this new system is going to basically, be all about identity and not being able to do anything. Remember, friends, if we have a complete digital currency, you won't be able to do anything without any anonymity. You will not be able, they'll know everything about you. Again, watch James Corbett and the Corbett Report. He's got some fantastic videos I just posted, especially in my Inner Circle community. But you want to check that out. And so, if you want to know more, and just join my Inner Circle community and check it out, because every Sunday, we're talking about all this stuff on a regular basis, and I show you more of the details. But anyway, this looks like a very confusing, very high-strung energy that's going to affect the United States, this full moon. And so since the United States already has a moon in Aquarius, this could affect it. It's not on it, but it could affect it. The energy gets activated. Anyway, so there's a heads up. I'm giving you a heads up. Anyway, speaking of the moon, I want to just, point your attention to the offer that I have in the description. There's a free mini reading, free mini moon reading that my team has found, and it's actually very good. I did order one for myself. But it gives you a free mini reading, and then if you decide to buy the whole report, it benefits you and it benefits us. We get a little percentage of it, not a big deal. But it's just a nice way of understanding the dynamics of your moon. And so, it's a third-party moon reading, but it's actually done very well. And I think you should definitely check it out. If you want to help support the channel here, this would be a great way to do that. Anyway, of course, I also want to make an announcement here. I'm in the Colorado area, and I will be doing a live presentation on Wednesday, July the 30th at 6 p.m. in Penrose, Colorado, at the Observer Ranch. Now, if you don't know who the Observer Ranch is, that is Space Weather News. That's Ben Davidson's channel, and he does space weather news. And I'm in the area, so they decided. Let's put together a little presentation. I was like, okay, great. So I'll be there, and it's free to attend. So if you're in the Penrose area, I will try to record this with my camera and microphone and eventually post it online. But, Mercury's in retrograde, so let's hope everything works out. Anyway, so if you're in the area, check it out. Visit the Observer Ranch website for more details. Also, if you're interested in the newsletter, the monthly newsletter, go to astrologerjoe.com, click on newsletter right there. And there you'll find the moon reading as well, the link, and of course the Inner Circle, joining the Inner Circle. It's a 7-day free trial, so you've got nothing to lose. And of course, I do a whole lot more. I teach astrology there. We do the weekly Zoom calls, which everyone really enjoys. And I do the weekly astrology overview, giving people a heads up of what's going on. This is why the community knows ahead of time of what I'm going to be talking about, because it's always posted there in the Inner Circle community first. So consider joining. All the links, both of the links are down below, so check it out. Anyway, folks, have a great new moon. I look forward to talking to you soon, and let's make it happen. Let's make some positive changes happen in the world. All right? So have a great month, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.